We're continuing our series of lectures and discussions about literary techniques, and these are specific ideas that you can use in the development of your first essay about two short stories. And I want to talk about figurative language in this particular video and on this page. And there's some important concepts that I want you to pick up on to layer on top of what you probably already learned in high school and even junior high school and maybe in grade school. Um, what a metaphor is, what a simile is, what personification is, and also the difference between lazy writing and weak writing as opposed to really strong original writing. And that's wrapped up into the concept of what a cliche is. A cliche is just a figurative image that's been used too often. So let's kind of review a little bit. There's a metaphor and a simile. A metaphor is love is a rose. Okay. It's literally saying that this is that when it really isn't. And a simile is similar. Love is like a rose. Okay. Very similar concepts. And of course, love isn't like a rose at all. Love is an emotion, and a rose is a flower, but it's a beautiful flower. And love is a beautiful emotion. So you get an idea across using that, but you can also think that, yeah, that's kind of a cliche, right? Love is a rose. How many times have we heard that? Neil Young used it. Love is a rose. You better not pick it. It was in one of his famous songs, but he took the metaphor out just a little bit more, or the simile. He didn't say love is like a rose. He said love is a rose. And if you pick it and you stick your finger with a thorn, then love is complex. So he's trying to make a point in his song, in the lyrics of his song about love, using that simile. Now, personification is giving human qualities to something that's not human. For instance, the sky was angry. Okay, skies don't have emotions, they're not angry, but you're getting the idea that those clouds up in the sky, it might rain, you might get thunder, you might get lightning, you might have a fire sparked by the lightning. Who knows? The sky is angry, giving human qualities to the sky. Now, is that a cliche? If you've heard it many, many times, yes, it is. I'll give you an example. It's more fun to write something that's original than it is to, basically trot out the same figurative images that you've heard over and over and over again in songs and in poems and in books. Figurative images are everywhere, even in the engineering reports. Um, you've heard this one, I'm sure. You can't, let's see, don't change horses in the middle of the stream, right? And uh, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink, right? Or a horse of a different color. There's a lot of horse metaphors out there. They're all cliches. You've heard them over and over again. But if the writer was to say, you can't force a horse to change color in the middle of the stream, you're poking fun at the cliches, and you're coming up with your own original figurative images. And it takes a lot of work. And so maybe that's part of your job as a writer, is to be analytic and say, this writer was lazy, didn't put any effort into creating fresh, original figurative images. Or you could say, this writer is very original, and listen to these very, very cool and interesting figurative images, metaphors, and similes, and use of personification that this writer used in this short story. And then to back up your writing, you pull out some evidence from the primary source, the short story that you actually read, to support your argument. Again, this is an ongoing theme. I want you to avoid first person. Don't say, I think this writer has a fresh use of metaphors. Say, this writer has a fresh use of metaphors. Keep it in third person objectives. Make it sound scholarly and not like a junior high school paper. And support your argument with the evidence that you find. Maybe even find a secondary source, a writer who's published in a peer-reviewed journal of literature, maybe somebody writing about T.C. Boyle in Rolling Stone magazine, that's a pretty well-respected source of information. And if they say, you know, T.C. Boyle has a fresh approach to using metaphors and similes, then you've got that great quote that supports your argument. That's the kind of thing you're going to be looking for, not only in this essay about short stories, but later on, you're going to be writing 3 more essays in this class about the novel that you're reading, about the play, the script to a play that you're going to be reading and watching, about songs and poems later on in the semester. And they will all be using figurative images. You'll always be looking for whether the writer is sophisticated or primitive, whether this is really good literature or kind of weaker literature. That's your job, writing an analysis essay or an analytic essay. Okay, hope that makes sense. Do read the material that's on this page as well. It will reinforce the video, and we'll go on to the next learning module really soon.